Greetings and welcome back to Eye of the Beholder. For our next series of videos, we're going to jump into all manner of beasts. If it swims, slithers, crawls, flies, or gallops, we got you covered. One of the main critiques I received on the channel is the videos are just too long, so we're going to try to limit the lengths to 20 to 30 minutes. However, with over 120 different beast miniatures to cover, we're probably looking at about 4 videos to get through it. So buckle up, here we go. Monstrous, or giant scorpions, first appear in the OG Monster Manual. They are generally found in dry, arid environments. With their powerful pincers and venomous stingers, they range in size from a large bear to a small elephant. Approach with caution.
We get our first scorpion in Wizard's second set, 2003's Dragon Eye. Called a fiendish, monstrous scorpion, this large-size, rare mini is a fine first effort. Monochrome black with blood-red highlights on its pincers, mandibles, and stinger, posed in classic scorpion. Tail up, pincers in attack position. Overall score, paint 13, pose 12, playability 15, pizzazz 12, for a score of 52. We don't get our next Scorpion mini until 14 years later in the Tomb of Annihilation set. Called simply a giant scorpion, this one is not as bulky as the previous Wizards one, and therefore not quite as threatening. Combined with its monochrome dark brown coloring and no highlights, this one is a step down from the Wizards mini. Score: paint 8, pose 10, playability 12, pizzazz 6, for a score of 36. Wizard steps it way up 6 years later in 2023's Sand and Stone set with this giant scorpion. Even though it's still considered only a large creature, by mounting it on a huge base, Wizards really elevates the threat level. This guy reminds me of Perseus versus the Scorpions in Clash of the Titans. The original Harryhausen version, not that crappy remake. A lighter brown than the previous mini, this one also has black highlights on the pincers, mandibles, and stinger. This is definitely the Scorpion mini I'm using for gameplay, and as an uncommon, it won't be too hard to get a few to really up the challenge level. Score: paint 17, pose 16, playability 22, pizzazz 22, for a score of 77.
Spiders also originated in the first Monster Manual, ranging in size from your standard hide-in-your-shoe spiders up to those large enough for you and a couple friends to ride. Not recommended. Spiders are inherently scary. Found in all but the coldest environments, spiders fit any DM's need, from standard wandering monster to web choke lairs befitting final boss battles.
As with the first Scorpion, our first large monstrous spider comes from 2003's Dragon Eye. Reddish brown with gray mandibles, it's remarkably detailed for an early mini, with a bumpy ridge along its back and a well-detailed face. Pose: well, it's a spider, so appropriately spider-like. By the way, shout out to Mom. I had lost this mini a couple weeks ago, and it held up all my production. She was able to find it, so we're back on track. Score: paint 10, pose 12, playability 12, pizzazz 12, for a score of 46. A couple of years later, we get our next spider, the Spider of Lolth in 2005's Underdark set. Lolth is the demon queen of spiders, main deity of the drow, and mistress of spiders. Unfortunately, her namesake spider is underwhelming. A uniform black is a large abdomen with what looks like a pincer at the end. I do like how the legs hang over the base though, which helps cover it. Score: paint 8, pose 14, playability 12, pizzazz 10, for a score of 44. In the same Underdark set, we get a swarm of spiders. Mounted on a huge base, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a large pile of spiders. Monochrome black, but a closer examination reveals quite a bit of details in the mini, with legs, bodies, mandibles, and heads everywhere. It actually looks like smaller spiders that are piled on top of larger ones. Not sure how playable it is, but it is kind of cool. Score: Paint 8, Pose 17, Playability 6, Pizzazz 15, also for a score of 44. A year later, in 2006's War of the Dragon Queen, we get the huge fiendish spider mini. Now we're cooking with gas. This guy is terrifying, with large white pincers on its forelegs, plus giant white, well, I'm not sure what those are, on either side of its head, plus large mandibles, plus a blunt stinger at the end of its abdomen. This guy can kill you in any number of ways. Red eyes and white bumps down its abdomen complete the look. Score: Paint 17, Pose 20, Playability 20, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 79. A year later, we get the Blade Spider in the Desert of Desolation set. Denizens of the Underdark, blade spiders are often favored by the drow, who occasionally use them as mounts. The paint and pose of this mini is first rate. Black and brown body, black legs tipped with brown blades, which are poisonous by the way, and white mandibles complete the look. With its raised pose and front forelegs extended, this guy is most definitely on the attack. Score: Paint 19, Pose 20, Playability 20, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 82. Also from the Desert of Desolation set, we get the Demon Web Swarm. Basically, just a pile of red spiders. It's really nothing special. The only thing that recommends this mini is the fact that it's a common, so cheap and easy to get. I personally have 8 of them, so I can see spreading these out on the floor to act as a nuisance to a party as they fight a larger foe. Score: Paint 5, Pose 5, Playability 11, Pizzazz 3, for a total of 24. The very next set, Dungeons of Dread, gives us our next mini, the Death Jump Spider. As the name implies, these guys can jump great distances, making them exceptional ambush predators, able to leap upon their prey and sink their poisonous fangs into a victim. As a mini, it's nothing special. Uniform black with a pose suggesting an imminent leap. Score: Paint 7, Pose 11, Playability 15, Pizzazz 12, for a score of 45. We get our first WizKids mini in 2015's Elemental Evil set. Called a Wolf Spider, this guy is a two-tone brown and gray with a pose low to the ground, suggesting that it is creeping up on its prey. Perfectly usable, if not an overtly impressive mini, mostly suited as a wandering monster for a low-level party to practice on. Score: Paint 11, Pose 12, Playability 11, Pizzazz 10, for a score of 44. 5 years later, WizKids takes another stab at the Wolf Spider in the Fang and Talons set. This mini is so much better than its predecessor. Brown with black stripes down its thorax and abdomen, its clear base allows for a pose capturing the spider in mid-spring, front feet fully extended and mandibles wide open. There's even subtle detailing on the underside of the thorax. Well done, WizKids. Score: Paint 22, Pose 24, Playability 20, Pizzazz 25, for a score of 89. Our final mini from the terrifying world of 8-legged nightmares is the Giant Tick. From 2023's Bigby's Presents Glory of the Giants, doesn't exactly strike fear in your heart, does it? A uniform brown with a bloated abdomen indicating that his recently fed, I got nothing. Oh wait, its bite might cause disease. That's scary, right? Right? Score: Paint 7, Pose 5, Playability 4, Pizzazz 2, for a score of 18.
We go from creepy crawlies to under the seas, as the next set of beasties are the aquatic variety. From a playability standard, most of these minis won't see a lot of play unless you're running a specific type of adventure. As a result, we don't have a lot of aquatic beasts, and those that we do come from two WizKid sets, 2020's Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden, and naturally, 2023's Seas and Shores.
The knucklehead trout is the first of two minis from Icewind Dale. For what it is, it's a solid mini, red-gray body with surprisingly detailed paint on the mouth and eyes. The base is designed to appear watery, giving the trout the appearance of breaching. Not sure how much playability there is. I suppose you could have a couple in the background, just offshore for flavor. Score: paint 14, pose 16, playability 4, pizzazz 13, for a score of 47. Our next Icewind Dale miniature is slightly bigger, a killer whale. While playability is an issue, this mini is amazing. While the paint is nothing special, the composition of this mini is off the chart. While the base is obviously meant to be water with the orca leaping out of the waves, take a closer look. Note how you can see the tail through the translucent base, even to the point of carrying on the correct black-white color scheme. Bravo, Wizards! Now I just got to figure out a way to get it into the game. Score: paint 15, pose 25, playability 6, pizzazz 23, for a score of 69. From here on out, the rest of our aquatic minis are from Seas and Shores, starting with the giant crab. Pretty good for what it is, a common, medium-sized mini with an orange body, dark washed, with black for the claws and eyes. As with the earlier trout, not a lot of playability here other than his background pieces, scuttling about and perhaps distracting the party from other, more serious threats. Score: paint 11, pose 12, playability 8, pizzazz 10, for a score of 41. The next of our nice but unplayable minis is the reef shark. Again, it is what it is, gray body, but with a pose nicely conveying the way a shark swims. One way I could see using this mini would be if your party is shipboard. As a common mini, getting a few of these to circle the boat would be a nice touch, especially if a battle aboard would raise the possibility of going overboard. You know what? I revised my earlier opinion. This mini is playable. Score: paint 10, pose 12, playability 14, pizzazz 13, for a score of 49. A quipper is a fish similar to piranhas, with sharp teeth and a tendency to swarm their meals. Hence, the quipper swarm mini. The paint is well done, and the swirling base conveys movement. However, I'm not sure 6 quippers constitute a swarm. Personally, I would have made this a large mini, with many more quippers all swirling on the outside of the base, leaving room to stick a unfortunate PC mini in the middle, similar to what WizKids did with a black pudding mini a couple years back. Score: paint 14, pose 12, playability 11, pizzazz 15, for a score of 52. The giant octopus is another S&S mini that is fine for what it is, but nothing special. A monochrome red with yellow eyes with a pose that is, shall we say, less than threatening. One nice aspect is that, due to the clear base, you can actually see the suckers on the tentacles on the underside of the mini. Playability is limited to ocean settings, although I suppose you could recreate the entrance to Moria scene from Lord of the Rings. Score: paint 10, pose 10, playability 8, pizzazz 10, for a score of 38. The giant sea eel, which looks like a moray eel to me, is an interesting but limited mini. I really like how the base is a coral reef, with the eel undulating over the top. The eel itself is nicely done, green with a slight dark wash and really good detailing on the mouth. You can really see the pointed teeth. Also, note the fine scaling on the Mini. That's some nice detail work here. Again, nice Mini, but won't see much play. Score: Paint 14, Pose 18, Playability 7, Pizzazz 15 for a score of 54. Our final aquatic mini is the giant seat horse. Paint: reddish brown. Pose: nice but nondescript, although I think the eyes are nicely expressive. Overall, nothing really to recommend. Wait, is that a bridle and saddle? It is. And not only that, but yoink, it can be removed and a mounted sea elf can be put in its place. Boom. This ups the playability of the Mini and subsequently ups the coolness of it. So, score: Paint 12, Pose 19, Playability 13, Pizzazz 24 for a total of 68.
From swimming in the sea to soaring in the skies, our next batch of beasties are avians. Not many to review here. Between Wizards and WizKids, we only have 4 total minis, mostly giant versions of various birds of prey.
We get our first avian mini in 2007's Unhallowed set. Another creature from the OC Monster Manual of 1979, the giant owl is a deadly night hunter like its smaller cousins, attacking by silently gliding towards their targets and striking with their talons. This mini, named Celestial Giant Owl by Wizards, is a good representation of this. Extremely well detailed for an earlier mini, the feathering details are particularly well done, as is the paint, brown on the wings and back, white on the underbelly. Final note, the black stand really blends in well against the tail of the owl, nicely selling the illusion of flight. Score: Paint 18, Pose 20, Playability 15, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 71. Next up is the Giant Eagle from 2007's Night Below set. Again, larger versions of the standard eagle. Giant eagles are prized by elves and halflings as mounts, as they are both intelligent and fierce fighters. The mini here is a nice representation of the creature, utilizing 4 colors plus a dark wash, and posed in mid-flight. Again, nice detailing on the feathering of the wings, which really shows due to the full extension. Score: Paint 16, Pose 18, Playability 15, Pizzazz 16, for a total of 65. Our next mini is our only grounded avian, the Axebeak from 2021 Snowbound set. Yet another creature from the OG Monster Manual. Axebeaks are large and aggressive flightless birds, resembling an ostrich on steroids. Highly territorial, they attack by their namesake beak. Despite this, they can be domesticated and are highly valued as mounts. The mini here aptly conveys this. The white body tapers to a brown tail, and the yellow beak really stands out. Nice detail, the talons match the beak. Bridle, saddle, and pack complete the look. Score: Paint 21, Pose 20, Playability 16, Pizzazz 23, for a score of 80. Our final avian mini is from 2023's Sand and Stone set, the Giant Vulture. Fiercer and eviler than their smaller cousins, they're more apt to drop to the ground to finish off weak or injured prey rather than patiently wait for its demise. The mini does a good job depicting this, with the vulture earthbound, wings spread, beak agape, and hunched over as if delivering a coup de grace. The paint job is well done, two-tone brown for the body, with a white face and collar and black on the talons and beak. Score: Paint 17, Pose 15, Playability 15, Pizzazz 16, for a total of 63.
We'll stick with aerial creatures for our next set of beasts, the bat. Ranging in size from your garden variety right up to the size of a pony in the dire variety, Regardless of size, all bats share the same echolocation ability as well as a tendency to swarm, which can be dangerous for a party when it's a dire bat swarm.
We get our first bat in 2005's Underdark set, and it is indeed a dire bat. The black base, stand, and body of the mini blend seamlessly to add to the illusion of flight, and I really like how the wings are fully upright, about to execute a powerful downswing, as opposed to most wing minis with their wings extended horizontally. While spiky protrusions, a hallmark of dire creatures, from the wings and body complete the look. Playability is high as well. I think it's high time WizKids gives us another dire bat. Score: Paint 13, Pose 19, Playability 18, Pizzazz 19, for a score of 69. We get our next bat a couple years later in 2007's Unhallowed set. Called a Bat Familiar, this mini is set on a tiny base with a clear stand. The bat itself is well done, with a brown body and reddish, semi-translucent wings. The mini is well named, as it absolutely fits in as a Wizard's Familiar, making it playable for both PC groups as well as the NPCs/bad guys. Score: Paint 14, Pose 15, Playability 20, Pizzazz 13, for a total of 62. Our next bat comes out 1 year later in 2008's Dungeons of Dread. Called a Shadow Hunter bat, this beast comes from the Shadowfell, and if this is what bats look like in the Shadowfell, I ain't going. Uniform black from tip to tail, with just a hint of red in the eyes and white in the maw, this creature is truly terrifying. The pose depicts the creature almost hovering over the ground, FYI, nice use of the tail to attach to the base, and it's intent on its prey. Score: Paint 12, Pose 18, Playability 15, Pizzazz 20, for a score of 65. Our final mini is from WizKids from 2016's Monster Menagerie. Called a Swarm of Bats, I gotta say, what a piss poor mini. Terrible composition, the mono black hides what few details there are on it, and for a swarm, it's really not. Seriously, if you're going to make a bat swarm mini, make it on a full-size large base with several dozen bats, eschew the stand by attaching the minis to the base via contact points at the bottom, and did I mention? Use more bats! Score: Paint 7, Pose 4, Playability 9, Pizzazz 3, for a total of 23.
Next up in our bestiary are bears, both standard and dire varieties. Your standard bear is more of a live and let live kind of creature, minding its own business unless provoked. Dire bears are much larger, scarier version of your average bear, but much more aggressive when defending their territory. So in all cases Ursine, try not to piss either one off.
We get our first bear in the 2004 Aberrations set, referred to as the Celestial Brown Bear. As an aside, many early Beast minis had either Celestial or Fiendish in their names to shoehorn them into specific alignment warbands for the miniature game. It's a bit small for a bear, but I do like its two-tone fur. Not much else to recommend it though. Pose is nondescript, and playability is limited due to its small size. Score: Paint 14, Pose 11, Playability 8, Pizzazz 10, for a score of 43. We get a much better interpretation of a brown bear in 2018's Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Standing on all 4 feet, the pose gives the impression that it is in provoked mode, teeth bared and head tilted slightly. The paint is, well, brown, but there is some nice detailing on the snout and teeth. Just had a thought. We can use the brown bear from Aberrations as its cub, and this mama bear is in protect mode. Score: Paint 13, Pose 16, Playability 18, Pizzazz 13, for a score of 60. we get our first dire bear in the 2005's Death Knell set. This is a weighty mini, broad at the shoulders and even on 4 feet, taller than your average human-sized mini, or lunch in the dire bear parlance. We get the usual brown coloring with the standard white protrusions along the spine and body. With his eyes set straight ahead and teeth bared, this guy is about to go on the attack. Score: Paint 14, Pose 17, Playability 20, Pizzazz 15, for a total score of 66. Three years later, we get our second dire bear in the 2008's Demon Web set, called a dire bear mauler, and I believe the title. Not as detailed as the previous dire bear, the face is hard to make out, and the spines associated with dire animals are reddish-brown rather than white. The pose, though, is a natural follow-up to the previous dire bear, raised up on its hind legs and about to go on a killing spree. Survival tip: stab your partner in the leg. Remember the old adage, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your partner. Score: Paint 10, Pose 20, Playability 20, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 68. Also in 2008, we get the Cave Bear Mini from the Against the Giants set. Adapted to living underground, these bears are aggressive and ill-tempered, so approach with caution. Another substantial mini, this guy barely fits on its medium-sized base. Posed standing on its hind legs and looking to the side, this is another mini that looks ready to attack. Paint-wise, for such a simple color palette, I really like it. The brown on the back blends seamlessly with the black on its belly and head, which also makes the fangs pop. Score: Paint 18, Pose 17, Playability 15, Pizzazz 18, for a score of 69. Our final bear comes from the 2020's Icewind Dale Rime of the Frost Maiden set. And, surprise, surprise, it's a polar bear. As anyone who has watched a nature documentary knows, polar bears are one of the few natural animals that will actively hunt, kill, and eat humans, and the pose reflects this. The paint is as expected, snow white with black for the eyes, nose, and claws. If your PCs are in an Arctic environment, this mini is a must-have, either as a wandering monster or a pair in a den that a party seeks refuge in. Besides, the barbarian PC needs a new coat. Score: Paint 14, Pose 18, Playability 19, Pizzazz 22, for a score of 73.
Well, that's it for now, everyone. We'll pick this back up in our next video with everyone's favorite breakfast meat. Thanks again for watching. Please comment below with any suggestions to make the channel better. And remember, all opinions and ratings are, again, in the eye of the beholder.